especially for fans of build and dig, collect and craft, who prefer unusual 2D worlds instead of traditional 3D. We have selected the top games similar to Terraria, a cult sandbox with pixel graphics. Starbound, the best game to date, similar to Terraria, which is not surprising, since the same developers took part in the creation of both projects. Instead of one planet in Starbound, players will find a whole universe, randomly generated and inhabited by countless unique civilizations, both highly developed and master the technology of space travel, and extremely primitive in their development. They have not crossed the line of the Stone Age. The player will be able to get acquainted with each of these civilizations while playing Starbound, where he also expects a lot of other interesting content and much more opportunities than in the original Terraria. Craft the World. Continuing our list of games similar to Terraria on PC, one of the most beautiful games in the 2D sandbox genre is Craft the World. In addition to the ability to change the world with your own hands, build and craft, there are elements of strategy here, reminiscent of the Dungeon Keeper Dungeon Simulator. In Craft the World, players will find mountains of valuable loot and a sea of crafting recipes, several game modes, and, as already mentioned, an incredibly beautiful, randomly generated world where you can build a real castle with traps and secrets to store the collected treasures. Jump Jack, a Terraria-type sandbox game with a 2D look and pixel art. In Jump Jack, players can explore a huge open world, or rather worlds, since 12 different planets are available to visit, changing absolutely everything through terraforming and building. Of course, everything here is randomly generated. The biomass that make up the planets, the creatures inhabiting them, including enemies, peaceful NPC and animals available for taming. There is a companion system, and much more. In Jump Jack, an incredible number of crafts are available to the player. There is an opportunity to upgrade your hero, complete quests, collect, rob, fish, and do many other exciting things. Realms of Magic, pixel sandbox with RPG elements, one of the best among games similar to Terraria. As in Terraria, the action here is a huge fantasy world in which magic works and various unusual creatures live, including nightmarish creatures from the dungeons and huge epic bosses. A player in Realms of Magic can build and craft more than 100 recipes, go on treasure hunts to the already named dangerous dungeons, or complete any of the quests available here. Do not forget about the vast system of magic, consisting of many powerful spells. Dig or Die, a Terraria-like 2D sandbox game in which you play as a representative of an intergalactic construction company who has crash-landed on an unknown planet with extremely aggressive life forms and many other dangers. Moreover, most of them lie in wait for players at night. There is a dynamic change in the time of day. To escape, the hero will have to build a new spaceship, and for this you must first find and collect the necessary resources. Of course, this can only be done by thoroughly studying the surface and bowels of the planet. In general, the process of staying on an inhospitable planet in Dig or Die can drag on for an indecently long time, so it would be very reasonable to take care of a reliable shelter, good equipment, food and weapons. In addition, an important place in the gameplay is occupied by the tower defense element, represented by the need to protect your shelter from alien monsters regularly crawling from all sides. Planet Centauri, a game like Terraria, with incredibly beautiful pixel graphics and animation, in many ways even surpassing its inspirer in this respect. As in Terraria, in Planet Centauri the player must explore the world, collect resources and improve their shelter, gradually turning it into a huge settlement with many NPC. At the same time, there are several significant differences here. The ability to create your own spells, the pet system, the ability to craft various vehicles, the system for transforming into various creatures, a flying dragon, a giant underground worm, etc. Planet Centauri has an incredibly extensive and diverse system for customizing a character, pets, equipment, and even monsters for this genre, which allows you to change not only appearance but also characteristics. There are also many crafting professions and recipes for them. There is support for multiplayer. Crea, a sandbox role-playing game whose gameplay, exploring and modifying the world, and visual style, 2D pixel art, make it similar to Terraria. In Crea, the player can create their own character and develop it while exploring the world, mastering new skills and improving numerous talents. more than 80 characteristics in total. Moreover, the pumping system is implemented in a very interesting way. Almost any action of the hero brings him something new and useful, for example, improves performance or allows you to learn a certain skill, recipe, or magic spell. In Crea, players will find an abundance of all kinds of loot and original opponents, including hardcore bosses, for each of which they will have to choose their own tactics. Kingdom, New Lands. A beautiful 2D strategy and RPG game, the gameplay of which combines the principles of survival and tower defense. In it, the player will be allowed to try on the royal crown, which gives the right to rebuild and develop their own kingdom, as well as protect it and all its inhabitants from the constant raids of various monsters. Of course, in terms of gameplay, Kingdom, New Lands does not quite correspond to what was in Terraria, but there are definitely some similarities, exploring your own possessions and gradually improving and protecting a settlement inhabited by various NPC. In addition, this similarity is enhanced by equally cute pixel graphics in both projects and a fabulous atmosphere. Nom Nom Galaxy. A very bright and insanely exciting sandbox aimed on a culinary theme, the gameplay of which contains many elements from other genres: strategy, tower defense, puzzle, platformer, and so on. The protagonist is a representative of an intergalactic food company that is looking for new planets with unusual edible resources, builds them up with factories for the extraction and processing of these very resources, combines the found ingredients into various dishes, more than 100 recipes in total, and then sends the finished products to the whole universe. Of course, on each new planet, various obstacles and dangers await him in the form of aggressive flora and fauna. And here comes the opportunity to build all sorts of weapons, traps, reinforced walls, and other defensive structures to protect your factories. Aground. Pretty simple two-dimensional sandbox with very primitive pixel graphics, the action of which takes place on a desert island, where the main character, along with several NPC, ends up after a shipwreck. The main task in Aground is the construction and gradual improvement of the settlement for the survivors. To do this, there is an impressive number of recipes for crafting and building, the ability to collect resources, dig mining tunnels, and fight enemies. In general, everything is the same as in Terraria. Signs of Life. A sandbox game with a sci-fi setting, dedicated to the adventures of a space traveler who finds himself all alone on an unfamiliar planet. At the same time, initially at his disposal, there is only a multifunctional laser and a PDAs with the support of artificial intelligence, which helps to receive and analyze information about the new world. Everything else must be mined and done by yourself, step by step exploring the expanses and depths of an unknown planet. In general, the game is literally in every way reminiscent of Terraria, except that instead of fantasy, it uses a fantastic setting, and the graphics seem a little less pleasant. Windforge. Terraria-style 2D platformer with building, crafting, and RPG elements. The action of Windforge takes place in a bizarre world dominated by steampunk-specific technologies, and all life is concentrated in the sky, among floating islands, huge airships, and flying monsters, like giant krakens and whales. Moreover, the local world, as in Terraria, is subject to destruction and change by the player. In addition to the unusual setting, the game is distinguished by the presence of a full-fledged storyline with exciting quests, as well as a unique gameplay with a virtually limitless level of freedom, combining elements of the famous side-scrollers a la Contra and Bionic Commando with elements of sandboxes like Minecraft and Terraria. It Lurks Below. A 2D action role-playing game very reminiscent of Terraria. Here, the gamer can also arrange his own base, and to search for resources, he needs to go to the dungeons with dangerous monsters. The levels are randomly generated and the environment is completely destructible. But It Lurks Below has its own zest, expressed in the role-playing system. This is a full-fledged RPG with character classes and performance upgrades. There are 8 heroes available: Bard, Priest, Sorcerer, Necromancer, Paladin, and so on, with unique characteristics. Also, strong bosses, a branched talent tree, and 3 different game modes await you. The Sandbox Evolution. A pixel sandbox in which the player is assigned the role of a god. In the sandbox, he will create a world from scratch, starting with water, earth, sand, and other materials, and ending with a full-fledged human civilization. You can be a respectable god or arrange chaos and destruction. The game often receives various updates. As a result, there is so much content that you will be lost in the game world for many hours. Moreover, you can play it not only on PC, but also on mobile platforms. Stardew Valley, a popular farming simulator with RPG elements. If you like building in Terraria, then this project will appeal to you. You get at your disposal an old abandoned farm, and you can go about your business. Stardew Valley does not set strict goals. You can do whatever your heart desires. For example, to extract resources, grow plants, raise livestock, complete tasks in a neighboring town, and so on. Stardew Valley will surprise you with attention to detail. For example, you can chat with non-playable NPC and learn their stories, as well as start a family with them. There is a multiplayer mode in which you can play with friends or with random users. If your favorite game is not included in this list, write in the comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel, watch our other videos, press like, turn on notifications, and you will always be aware of what to play today.